This video is brought to you by YTAndrewPaul Tech Repairs. If you have a console, laptop, computer or Macbook in need of repair in the UK or the EU, then have a look in the description below this video for details on how to contact us in order to organise your repair. Right, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's video. And today we're going to be doing a HDMI port replacement, but this time we're going to be using our new JBC soldering iron. So in the last video you'll have seen us actually unbox it. Well, today we're going to be using it because I figured that, a lot of you would be interested to see how it does. So, especially in comparison to the old Jovi we were using. So we're going to be dropping the HDMI port from this PS4 today. What a better job to test the new station with. So we're just going to flux the rear of the old HDMI port up. So today's the first day I've been using the station. And I've just done another machine with the HDMI port with it, so I figured we'll show you on camera what it's like. So, if I can get you in focus. Tell you what, if ever they make a self-focusing microscope, they'll be a rich person. So, that's the bottom of the HDMI port. This is the bottom side of the board, looking at the ground location holes. I did try to record the other one, but the white balance on the camera seemed to be off for some reason. I don't know if it's a combination of the light coming through the window and the light on the desk and whatnot, just creating a perfect storm, but it just looked like hell. It just looked all washed out and horrible, so hopefully this one's going to look a little bit nicer for you. So, we've got the JBC up there, and I'm just going to pop some fume extraction on after I've done trying to smack the headset off my face. So, we're going to change tool, okay? So I'm going to angle you over this way. Now, I'm going to try and put a little bit of light on here for you so you can see what it is that we're doing. Okay, so the tools are in the top of the stand, just up there. Alright, now then, the way that they change is quite cool. So that's a nice big heavy stand, right? So I want to take this fine tip out and I want the big chisel tip over there. So I just hook in, hopefully you can see this, my arm's not blocking you, and pull up. Oh, okay, and then I push down onto the new tip, pull out, pop it in there, and just push. And there we go, and that's it, changed. Nice and easy. So that's the screen there now. You can see that it knows which tip is inserted. And a bit of housekeeping there. I didn't quite have the tip into the jaws of the stand, so it didn't quite get hold of it. So I ended up actually tipping the stand slightly. So I had to get hold of it in my hand. But providing you actually dock it in there properly, and we'll do another tip change before the end of this video anyway. So I'll show you that you don't actually have to get hold of it, but there you go. So it's set at 400 degrees, which isn't terribly great for these things, Normally you have it a little bit higher. But just watch what happens when we try and melt some leaded solder into these legs. See how easy that is? With a Jovi, you had to work it back and forth a little bit to get it to do that. Straight in with this. And the Jovi was an excellent station. It was an excellent soldering iron, and I loved it. But I've been using this thing today for the first time, and I have to say, what a magnificent piece of kit this is. So I'm just going to clean off the tip of the iron on the sponge, getting all tangled up. Okay, lovely jubbly. So I'm just going to get a little bit of desolder braid and just disconnect that out of that pin. So the ground area to the left of it there, we don't want it to be hooking into that. So we're now going to get the tool the air station and we're just going to drop this port out. So as you can see there now, the soldering iron's gone to sleep, tool in the stand. It tells you the time to hibernation, which is 9 minutes and 41. So we're just going to work the air back and forth. So yeah, I mean usually, with the Jovi, which was a very, very good which was a very, very good soldering iron, you just have to work the leaded solder in back and forth for about 5 seconds or so before it started to actually take into the holes. As you could see with this one, the solder straight down, just took straight into the joint, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, no waiting around, no having to work the solder in. It just goes in, and the strange thing is, of course, is that this thing's set to 400 degrees C. You know, most stations you'd have them set about 450-ish. But the JBC just strolls right in. Apparently the reason it can solder like that at lower temperatures than normal is the design of the cartridges. I'm sure JBC themselves could explain that a whole lot better than I can as to how and why that works. But it's just such an efficient design, you don't even have to have the temperature cranked all the way up. So we're just working this hot air back and forth across the back of this HDMI port. And we're just waiting for it to loosen up. So the air station's at 190 C, 100 litres of airflow per minute. These 1200 boards can be rather stubborn, so sometimes if you're not having any joy up top, then the best thing to do is to go the other side of the board. Solder's definitely molten this end, so it's just a case of waiting for the heat to saturate through to the other side of the board. So we're just working the heat back and forth. Still being a little on the stubborn side, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this over. Okay. I'm going to attack it from the top. So sometimes you can end up where the port itself does get rather stubborn. Okay, so we're just going to add some more flux to the rear of these pins. Okay. Now, then where possible, I'd recommend you don't do this. This is sort of like, you know, if the thing is evidently not for budging, sometimes it does happen. Not often, more often than not, you know, a couple of minutes working at the back will be enough to lift it. So I'm just going to give this some direct heat from the rear. Paying close attention to those locating legs. Put the tweezers in the top. Right, now then, I'm not pulling up with these tweezers, that's the important thing here. These tweezers are not being used to lever the port up. Just the fact that the natural tension from you having them closed is enough. So don't be tempted to pull up. That's not what we're doing here. I'm getting cramp in my fingers though, so. I'd be grateful if this thing did start to move soon. Okay, so we're thinking about lifting now. There we go. So yeah, these can get a little bit stubborn when they want. The tip is not to get impatient. Like I say, at no point there did we leave her up on the port at all. Just the natural tension of having the tweezers closed on the top will be enough that when it starts to move, you can feel it go. That you don't need to pull it, because if you pull, the moment you pull, you've lost. Trust me. So, anyway, back to this. So, we have our big fat tip installed at the moment, if you remember. So, we're going to get the flux. And we're just going to run flux onto the board. Okay, we're going to pick our iron up. That you can see there. It's going to get us to 400C very, very quickly. Power's dropping back down now. And we're just going to run a bead of leaded solder into those ground holes. And the same on the holes at the other side. And then we're going to take some desolder braid. And we're going to run that over the port header. I'm going to clean off the old lead-free solder that the old port was installed with. See how easy that is? I mean, that's the beauty of this soldering iron. If ever you do use one, or get the opportunity to do so, everything's effortless. Everything is so easy. So effortless. It's fantastic to use. You know, I mean, it was mightily expensive, don't get me wrong. But already today, just the first day using it, I'm already thinking, yeah, it might have been expensive, but the investment so far is looking worth it. So, going to apply some more flux to that port header. And we're going to apply some leaded solder there now. I'm just going in with the tip. Oops, probably should clean that. In fact, what I'll do is I'll change the tip. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to use the conical tip. Okay, so remember what we said last time. The trick is to make sure just trying to clean this tip off. Okay, so we're going to dock it directly back and we're going to pull up, and then the new tip, push it on, go further in, push it down, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And as you can see there now, our new tip is already up to temperature, 400C. I'm just going to go in and finish tinning this header up. Probably going to want a bit more flux on there, I think. Probably got a bit much on there, to be honest, but it soon comes off. There you go. Lovely jubbly. So we're just going to prop this board up slightly so we can get our new HDMI port dropped in. Just going to focus back on the board. I'm going to need a HDMI port. Okay. Brand new out of the packet. Sat on something. Cord for the headset, so that'll always end well, won't it? So, got them in the grips. And just going to apply the heat with the quick. Now then, it will be interesting to see how that conical 0.8mm tip handles installing the new port on these 1200s, because there's a little diode at the back of like pins 19 to 17 and it tends to get in the way. So on the Jovi I had a J-shaped tip that I used to use that used to give me a little bit more clearance above that component. So obviously at the moment I don't have one of those for the new JBC, so it'll be interesting to see how we get on there with that. Okay, so a new port is dropped in, so I'm just going to check the alignment and make sure that we're flat and flush to the board. One thing we don't want to be trying to do is solder a port which isn't flat, which is sitting proud of the board, because then we are wasting our time. Okay, I'm just going to push you back slightly. Blocking the light. Going to get you nice and close to the pins so you can see what's going on there. Now then, as you can see, those are beautifully lined up and all looking nice. So the air station, or the air wand even, can go back on its stand. I'm happy that that's all installed and lined up nicely. So next job is to solder the new pins in. So we're going to get some flux to the rear of the port. You'll notice the heat that's in the board turns the flux to a liquid form more or less straight away. So we're using our 0.8mm conical tip. Okay, so let's see what this is like. To be honest, the end of the tip is slightly longer and more slender than the one I had on the Jovi. So it does go in above that diode a little bit easier, which is nice. You can see there power's at 9% on the screen of the JBC there. We're at 400C. So this thing's barely breaking a sweat. You can see you're more or less just touching the iron to the leg, and you can see how quickly the solder's running up the leg. I'm not having to touch it, I'm not having to press on it, I'm not having to push it. Sometimes with the Jovi I did have to push it slightly. But with this, With this, it's just doing it, which is fantastic. And the nice thing is, you know, when we did the unboxing, we took the T245 out to hand, the handle. Said how nice it felt in the hand, you know, that it just felt naturally, almost like you were holding a pen or a pencil. And it just makes it so easy to place the tip exactly where you want it. It's so comfortable and easy to manipulate in your hand that it just makes doing this work so easy. So we're just going to reflow this last pin. And then we'll go past them all again, make sure they're all soldered in place, that they're all nice and solid. So they're all looking rather nice. Rubbish. A little bit of a tin whisker on that pin there, so we'll just get rid of that. To do that, you get this really small, fine braid. Okay, cool. I'll just clean the tip, lovely. Dock it back in the station. Run some IPA over it. IPA, of course, isopropyl alcohol. 99% proof. Cleaning solvent. Brilliant for circuit boards and things of that nature. Great for getting flux residue and everything else off boards. Do have a little bit of a detritus down here, so try to loosen that really gently with the edge of a tweezer blade. I mean, we will clean this off properly later before we do final reassembly, but it's always nice to get as much as you can off at this point because it just makes it easy later. Getting rid of the majority of the rubbish. Okay, so let's give these the nudge test. The one thing I will say with the Jovi tips as well is sometimes the ground pins wouldn't solder very easily. You know, you'd have to go back and redo them because for some reason on the 1200, I'm not sure if it's a slightly thicker board, but you just seem to have to work harder at it to get things to stick. And as you can see there, all 19 of those pins straight away are nice and solid, and we have complete connection. So that's brilliant. Just going to go back under here for a second, get the ground feet soldered, or the ground pins soldered even, as you can see there. They're looking okay anyway, to be fair, but I do just like to finish them off. So to do that, we're going to do a further tip change. So we've got a further tip change coming in, so out with the fine, in with the fat. As you can see, up to operating temperature very, very quickly. So we're just gonna touch up these ground pins. There we are. That's it. That's as difficult as it gets. This soldering iron is fantastic. Seriously, it makes everything so much easier. And the Jovi was fantastic. The Jovi was a brilliant station, and is. I still love it now, you know. If somebody was to say to me today, even off the back of using this, Andrew, I'm going to buy a Jovi, what do you think? Absolutely yes. For the price point, 140 quid in the UK. Yes, go do it. It was a brilliant station. I loved it. I've used it for the last 3 years, and I can't fault it. But this thing, I mean, the Jovi didn't struggle doing this sort of work. I would never say it struggled. But there were times when, like on these 1200s with the HDMI port and the ground pins on the HDMI port, occasionally you get it where you just had to work at it a little bit harder, you know, you had to work at it a little bit longer than you might have otherwise have had to have done. Just to get them to tack properly. You just have to hesitate the heat on them maybe, because one or two are just not quite taken. But with this thing, it's not an issue. This thing, it just comes straight up. So, I don't have to remove this little bit of solder there. It's only a ground pin anyway, as is the actual leg of the HDMI port. So that there and that there are technically connected. But you know, I just like to be tidy. I just like to be neat. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Done. We are done here. Our HDMI port is all nicely soldered. So we're going to give this a clean off now. Going to get it reassembled back in the machine. We'll crimp these sides in, and then we'll give it a test and see if it works. Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we have our machine partially reassembled. I'm going to give this a good clean because it's filthy, but for now, let's just see if this works. This is a first test. I'm seeing it live for the first time, as am I. Okay, looks like it's going to go down into safe mode. So it's rebooting now. We did get sync for a second there, so it's looking partially good, unless the encoder's bad. Yay! There we go. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. As you can see there, we're doing a disk check, and we have output back to the display. So as we can see there now, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great result there. This was a nice, easy change, straightforward job, as they always are. But as you can see there, really, to be honest, this was mostly just to showcase what the new JBC station we've got here can do. And I know that some of you who would be interested in the unboxing and you know, the actual features of the station will be interesting to, you know, be interested to actually see it firsthand working. So hopefully, you know, you've gained something from that and you've enjoyed it. So as always, ladies and gentlemen, if you've any questions at all about the equipment or any questions about what we've done here today on this port replacement, then feel free to drop a comment below. You can also hit me up on the private messages, either on here or on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @YTAndrewPaul. Feel free to drop me a message on there if you've any questions as well. If you've got any sort of desire to have me repair your machine, whether it be a PS4, a laptop, MacBook, Xbox, whatever it happens to be, then by all means drop me an email to my business email address, which is ytandrewpaul@outlook.com. The link for that email address is in the description below as well. And you know, like I said, if you've anything there that you want me to do, then just drop us an email there. If you need any components for consoles, of course, we supply HDMI ports, encoder ICs, EMI filters, them little diodes and resistors that always seem to get knocked off on PS4 HDMI ports. Yeah, we have all those in stock and ready to go. We can ship worldwide. By all means, drop me a email on there with your location and quantities you require, or anything else at all. You know, if you're missing components at all for pretty much anything, then drop us an email and I'm sure we can source them and get them to you for a good price. So yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing I ask is that I only get business questions to my email address. Reason being, like I say, is my business email, and I am trying to get back to customers and get quotes to people. So just general questions to that email address does tend to clog it up, and it kind of makes it my life harder trying to go through it. So if you've got any general questions about what we do here or the videos, then please just drop them in the comments or my Twitter inbox. And like I say, you know, leave my business email for business related purposes. I'd be very, very much appreciative if you could just abide by that quick, fast rule, ladies and gentlemen. That'd be awesome and would make my life easier. So thank you very much in advance. But as you can see there now, we have display back on our PlayStation. It's telling us it's not turned off properly, and we need to press the OK button. So I'll just plug a controller in and do that, and then we should go back to the dashboard and everybody be happy. Oh, I've done that thing again. I plugged the controller in too quick and pressed the sync button and it just sits there and flashes at me. And the battery's going flat on the phone camera, so... Right, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, lovely. There we go. Fantastic. And there we go. Fantastic. Right then, ladies and gentlemen. So, I've been Andy Paul, and you've been fantastic. So, from me, the JBC, and this PS4, say thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next vid. So for me, it's bye-bye for now. Many thanks for watching then, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then why not check out these recommendations below. Also, please remember to comment, rate, and of course subscribe to the channel if you found this useful. We've plenty more content on there, and there's lots more to come.